How do you pin something? How do you pin, Can someone tell me how you, oh, here it is. When in doubt, hit it harder or hold it down for a while. I found myself, so when I first started playing guitar, I was like, I really want to play guitar so I can play guitar on a rainy day. That was what I had in my mind. Like, I just want to sit by a window and play guitar. And we have a very rainy day, as I believe we have a couple rainy days in a row before us in Los Angeles. And seeing as I'm going to Mexico this week to play some shows with Dead & Company, and I'm getting myself sort of back into the frame of mind of those songs, I found myself sitting on my couch practicing, going, people might actually get something out of this. I'm having a good time watching like these masterclass videos. And I think about like, well, what could people dig that I'm doing that maybe they go home and want to pick up, and, you know, somewhere on the ladder of looking at other guitar players and other guitar players looking at me. And so I thought that I would just also shout out to Melanie Faye for putting her practices up on Instagram Live and kind of influencing me a little bit to want to do that. We all influence each other. So, I gotta scroll this back down to where people are, because you all written some funny stuff and I missed it. So, here's where I'm at with my playing right now. I'm into playing lead lines that suggest chords without having to play chords. So we all, as guitar players, are looking for things to play over. Jam tracks, or making tracks we can play on, or getting together with bands. And lately I've been into how you suggest the chords of playing. Thanks, Kathy. How you suggest the chords that you're playing without having to play the chords. So, and this is actually how I practice for Dead & Company, is I have these, like a song like Sugary. It's the easiest song that I can use to suggest this to you. So it's B to E, right? E, B, E. So that's all it is. So you could go E, you can keep playing the chords underneath it, which is sort of the conventional way to look at it. But for me, what I practice is now suggesting those chords without having to play them. So it would sound like this if you take the chords out from under it. Then you can play some more chords. And go back to and I'm playing those pretty wrong. This is why it's practice. And also, you know, I'm not actually looking down at the guitar. So those two chords. And part of the movement, playing over top, is understanding what chord you're moving to. I think guitar players do it without knowing they're doing it. We play a melody and it'll be in a certain key, but a certain key still has different chords that change. So that's still in the key of B. And if you wanted to, you could play B over it the whole time, right? And your ear would figure out a way to sort of navigate through it to make it sound like you just naturally would land on things that shared the B and the E scales. And when you start getting into things like Ramble on Rose, that actually, some of that stuff is not in the diatonic scale. So it would be a D, So that's a D, and it moves to E. So the whole context moves to E at that point. So you'd be playing D. So you have to constantly be aware of what chord you're in, work in that key. And a way to express that is to sort of play the chords in a couple different parts of the neck as you're going. So you could go D, 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 E, 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 E. Now, you know you're going to go to an F sharp minor. There's two places, main places that I would play it is, and this is an octave. And I could go to G here, or G here, or D. So I'm going to play as many different chords, different inversions of chords as I can to show all these different places you can go. So it'd be like... So that kind of knowledge of where each and everything is, you can start to fill in all of the gaps. You're right, and Eric Krasno can tell you it's one of the best songs to play over because your ear gets a fresh start on the key change. So you'll be playing in the... and so now you're going to F sharp minor. You can go or G, or those are the same two chords. It's the same as, and so you get all these different parts on the neck you can hang out in, and you can do some of it up here. So you can go, let's do the same thing. Or you could do the same thing. And when I say practicing guitar, I'm not really talking about practicing the physicality of playing the guitar. Like that part I have pretty, like I am where I am with that, for better and for worse. But I'm talking about plugging in all of these different little modules of things you do on the guitar and creating one integrative look at the guitar. And that's what playing Grateful Dead music has done for me, is taken all these little departments. You know, we all know how to go, but to start to build out from that and understand, well, that's just not this little place you drop into. You don't parachute down to play Voodoo Child and then drop out again and go somewhere else on the guitar. That's part of like, and actually it's also a part of so we're really talking about like stitching all of these standalone things. And a song can teach you how to play a riff, but if you go backwards and figure out that the riff is part of a scale, and the scale is part of sort of inversion of a chord, and not really an inversion of a chord, but a different part of the neck, right? Scales just become a little different when you play them in different parts of the neck. They don't all look like this, although it's fun to go. And I always play the blues scale and call it the pentatonic scale. I can't help but play. I can't go. It just doesn't sound right to me. So, do you think I need a haircut? Well, I don't know. I mean, don't I get a lot of credit if I clap back? What if I say something incredibly witty and also put down? My hair probably does need a haircut. I shake your hand on that. Don't really feel like dying on this hill. So, also, I didn't do anything to my hair today. I'm just letting it go. I just want to do I want to let it do my thing. So that's the practice, is playing these lead lines on top that suggest where the chords are. So again, D, E, F sharp minor, G, D, D, G, A. And it's not as complicated once you learn how the song goes. So you can go D, E, F sharp minor, D, that's D. Nah, if I messed it up. That's why it's a tough song. So. See? I'm going over my head on it, but you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to actually practice now for a minute. And then if I mess up, I'll figure out why did I mess up. Where was I? D. And if you know you're in D, you just go. So you're trying to make it seamless. And that was what Mr. Jerry Garcia would do, is he knew the song so well they all sounded seamless. So anyway, that's what I'm working on. Sometimes if you're too literal about the chords changing, I can hear it. And Eric can tell you also, like, if you're too literal about it, you're like, okay, you're just playing over the chords. So you also have to throw in some wonder and intrigue into the whole thing and just not know where you are, but kind of have it down, which is the best nights in the world, is taking what you know and throwing it away, except I have to increase what I know because it's been a minute since I have played these songs, and that's what I'm doing. So. And you should be able to, ideally, just play it on one string and make it interesting. That's what I really try to do. Yeah, that's where E is. Now where I'm trying to get to is making these non-linear jumps. So imagine, and this is what Jerry Garcia did so well, this is the final frontier of playing this stuff, is making these, what you call it, string skipping, these really large intervallic scene changes. So most people would start working, and most of the time Mr. Garcia would work chromatically and everything would work sort of stepwise. But if you start thinking in a really kind of remixy way, you'll be in B. So you're going to be... Here where I'm making these large kind of jumps, that's where I like sort of getting to now. So with that, it's not all so linear. That's one way to do it, and there's something about it, about that, that's actually very comforting to people's ears because it follows a pattern. But every once in a while, to reverse, like do a quick U-turn into some other street, you know. That was an example of a good one. That was me moving into pentatonic. Back in a major. Remember Voodoo Child? You can do it up here. So that's the Voodoo Child. And if you want to also, you can stay in one spot and just keep working that and move between B and E in one spot. B. E. B. E. B. E. B. E. E. So you're constantly weaving in and out of where the chords are, and if you just instinctively start building this idea of, oh, I'm already right, I'm back in it. So here's what it sounds like to a guitar player in their head. B, 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 E, I'm playing an E, I'm playing an E, I'm playing some shit I don't know, where am I, where am I? Oh, that's the thing from B, I'm back in B, da, 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 A. I'm just going to go for it for a while. That puts me in B again. Okay, I'm still in B. Da, 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 da. Right here is E. That's the E from this thing, and I'll play the B next to that E. And it's just constantly working it out as you play, and then when you get into it, you're not thinking about any of that stuff anymore. But that's where it really begins to become very ear-based. You know, there's two ways to learn Photoshop. One is to sit and learn Photoshop just to learn it, and the other one is to sit and learn it to do a certain thing with it. And that's a strange metaphor, but it's the same thing with music. You can learn to play the guitar, or you can learn to play music on the guitar. And I think you should always be learning to play music on the guitar. So I'm constantly thinking about, well, what's the note I want to make? That's why the joy is that I sort of let my hands go in front of me, and then I catch up with my ears, and it's this dance between my hands and my ears. So it's a little Ouija board, and it's a little bit dictionary. And it's a friggin' joy. And of course, you're seeing this, me pick up the guitar for the first, I had this brought to my house. This is my guy. And just like, it's like getting on a surfboard. And so if you know what you want to play, it certainly makes playing easier. It doesn't mean you're going to hit what you want. But if you even just begin to understand these melodic lines and where you want to take them. Boom, ba-dum, ba-ba-boom, ba-dum, ba-da, ba-do-da-dum, da-dum-dum, da-dum-da-be-bum, ba-dum, ba-dee-ba-ba-dum-da-bum, bum-da-dum. It's hard to do it and, you know. I just found myself, I'm B. Now, the easiest way to do it, so some people are going to say, well, make it a little easier. Here's where you start. Just start moving the pentatonic scale. So I'll play you the most basic version of it. And if you start doing that, that's the simplest sort of beginning thing. And they'll start to go, you know, B. Well, guess what's right next to that? E. So watch this. B pentatonic to E pentatonic without moving. B. Voodoo Child. B. Now, why does B sound so good over both chords? Well, because most of the time your ear finds the notes that they both share. B, E, B. Kind of like a flow thing, so B is kind of like a buddy. Yes. Correct. Correct. So that's what I sit and do and watch the rain doing. So, you know, I'll pick other songs, and then there's other things that I just have to remember, the little pieces, you know. But just getting the ethic down. So anyway, any questions? Any questions? I actually can't explain modes. I know what they mean. I know why they are what they are, but they don't agree with my mind. I know that it's the same chord, it's the same scale beginning on a different note. And I think that's a way to describe it, but it's not the best way to describe it, and no one's come up with a better way to describe it. Some things I have to learn them to be able to explain them in a way to myself that I wish other people would have just been like, so that's what it is? But my brain doesn't understand modes based on, well, it's a major scale, but you would start on the third note. It sounds like a crazy puzzle to me. But what I do know is that certain modes sound like certain things. So if you say Lydian, I know that it will sound like this, you know, and so I can figure it out. And then some things like Dorian are like just major with an extra note in it, or mixed Lydian, I don't know. But you can feel it out. You'll begin to create your own theory. How do I approach the pre-chorus to shakedown? Oh, right. Oh, it's F to E. Well, this is a very literal reading of F, the key of F to the E, you know. E. F, you know. And then you're in C. But now you're moving it. I did a little pentatonic there, so that's D. So what makes Grateful Dead music so interesting is that it really is in between pop music and jazz music. It is pop music with the sensibility of moving your playing over the chords the way jazz music has. Jazz music never stays still. It's constantly recontextualizing the scale for the chord. But same thing with most Grateful Dead music, which is what I dig about it. It is, for someone who's played guitar for a long time, it's just like mini games. Mini games. Here's D, play in D for a while. Oh, now you're in C minor, but now you're going to be in F to E. So it's like muscle confusion for your brain. It's the best. The most difficult thing I ever learned. So all that stuff. So that was the hardest thing I ever learned because I never used this finger on my hand before. I never played ba 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 da da. I never did that. And in fact, when I first started learning this stuff, this finger wouldn't go down. So let me inspire you, if I may, that you're never too old to learn a new trick, because my hand, I've been playing for, I don't know, what is it now? 20, almost 30 years. And when I first, 2015, started going through this music with a guitar in my hands, I couldn't, this wouldn't do that. This finger wouldn't do that. This wouldn't, I played like, but I didn't know. Muscle-wise, ergonomically couldn't do it, so I had to teach myself. I really walked around with like the grip master and doing all that stuff and trying to, you know. Yes, I have to move my thumb to the back of the, I have to move my thumb to the back of the neck to be able to support that. You can never, I don't think you could wrap your thumb and play linear that way. You kind of have to play like they teach you. Like they teach you. All right. Well, I'm going to go back to learning some of the stuff. I think I did an okay job on some of that, and I really bombed in a couple places, but that's practicing. That is practicing. Hey, thank you. Hope you're well. I'll see you again soon. Bye. I love you though.